Excellent. So this is sort of a little agenda of what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about requirements. We're going to talk about account management, how to log into Google, how to use Google Classroom, how to join classes, see assignments, and upload classwork. And the last thing we're going to cover are Google Meets, which so far you guys are doing a great job with. So the account requirements, all non-Summit students are going to need a Gmail address. That's an email that ends with @gmail.com. We cannot use like Anne Arundel County, Prince George's County, or independent school Google accounts, so you need to set up a new one. That way we don't have any conflicts. And sometimes the restrictions on school accounts can cause issues with Google Classroom and using it through our portal. These are just a few things when it comes to the device. Your camper is going to need access to class meetings, assignments, and a device that, of course, connects to the internet. And that device should solely be available to them during class times. When it comes to different devices, a Chromebook works, a Windows computer, an Apple Mac desktop or laptop works. The computer should have a working webcam, microphone, and speakers. Additional things that could be helpful: headphones with a built-in mic. It makes hearing easier. A separate mouse is sometimes helpful for younger students because sometimes using the trackpad is a little difficult for them. And as well as a printer might make it easier to complete some assignments. So you can print out the paper, do the work, take a picture of it, and then upload it back to the teacher. iPads and small tablets aren't really recommended. If you have to use that kind of device, you're going to want to get an external keyboard that allows ease of typing. When it comes to logging in, so you go to google.com, and at the upper right corner, you can see it says sign in. You would click on that. Your student is going to put their email address in, and then followed by their password. And once they have logged in, their icon should show up at the upper right-hand corner. It's good to take a look at that every time you log in, because that's going to tell you which account you're logged into. So account management, through the last half of the school year, we kind of ran into that most of the issues that come up with using the Google Suite comes down to logging in through the wrong account. You want to make sure that your student is logged into the account that is registered for the Summit Camp. If you're logged in with someone else's credentials, it tends to make it difficult to access email, access Google Classroom, access shared documents, and attend meetings. So this is a screenshot of the upper right corner, and you can see I have my little avatar up there, and it says Chris Davis at thesummitschool.org. And that's one way you can tell which account you're logged into. If I clicked on that, my little avatar, it's going to make this little drop-down window, and you can see my primary is logged in, but my personal is underneath. If I needed to cycle through those, you can click on the other one. And sometimes that's the problem, is you're logged into another account. So by being able to cycle through those two, you can get into the right account. You can access everything in the Google Suite using these 9 dots that are in the upper right-hand corner. It kind of looks like a waffle. And when you click on that, that's going to give you access to all the different apps and different features that Google offers. So it'll give you access to email. It'll give you access to Google Drive, which is where you store your files. It'll give you access to Google Classroom, which kind of looks like a blackboard or a green board. It gives you access to Google Meet, Google Calendar, Docs, which is just like Word, and Slides, which is just like PowerPoint. When you are joining a Google Classroom, you're going to go to that waffle, and then you're going to click down at Google Classroom. And I'm going to switch to a different window to kind of show you what it's going to look like. So when your student logs in, you can see there are lots of classes in here. This is sort of a test account for the school. But you can see right here, it says summer camp test. And right now, you can they have the option of either declining or joining the class. We, of course, would like you to join the class. When they click that, let me take a second. They're now enrolled in the class. And you can see it takes you right into the classroom. If they go to classwork, you can see I already have one assignment in here. So if I click on that, you can see there are some assignments that are put in here already. So you have, there's a little PowerPoint presentation that was made. So the student can follow along with that. So they get directions. There's a little video that will play inside of your Chrome browser. It will play just like a YouTube video would. And there's even a little PDF here that you can then print if you needed to print that page. And you can see there's just a little printer icon there, and then you can send it to your printer. Once the student has completed their assignment, we can go into the assignment. View assignment. You can see there, right here, there would be more directions probably than for mine. The student can also put in comments here if they have a question about what's going on. And then this is where they could upload their work. So if they had something to submit, they can click the add, and they can load it from Google Drive. They could load it from their computer. I'm going to load it right from my computer. Just go to desktop. Now I have just a picture. So I upload the picture. I click upload. And now that is being uploaded to Google. And then if they've done their whole assignment, they click turn in. And then that goes to your student's teacher to be looked at, addressed. So that's Google Classroom. Are there any questions about using that part so far? That's a good sign. Okay. So there's Google Classroom. We hit present. And the last thing I'm going to talk about are Google Meets. Right now you're in a Google Meet. You can see all the different controls. These are just some shortcuts that you can use or your student can use. If they want to mute or unmute, they can just use Control D. If they want to turn on or off their camera, they can use Control E. On a Mac, it would be Command D or Command E. And Command is sort of that funny shaped icon. You can also change layouts. I don't think this should be, because the classes are very small, that you really need to change the layout. But if you want to change between a spotlight view, which only shows the speaker, or side view, or a grid view, if you click on the three dots in the bottom right corner, it brings up this little menu. You can click change layout. And you can see you have the different options. So the tiled is sort of the grid view, the spotlight, just the person talking. And the sidebar is kind of in between. So the person that's talking is going to be in the big box, and then the rest of the participants are going to be in the right side tinier screens. And if you click on the meeting details, that'll actually give you the address for the meeting. At the bottom middle, you can see there's your microphone. You click that to mute the phone. And when the middle turns it off or makes you leave the meeting, and then the little camera toggles the camera on and off. Camp teachers are going to be sending out Google invites through Google Calendar. These invites are going to have the links to the one-on-one or the classroom meetings. So if you go to the waffle again, and then you go to calendar, it's going to bring up your calendar, and you're going to see that there are classes that are scheduled. And so right here, I have a math class from 9 to 10. And if you click on that, it's going to bring up this little window where it says join with Google Meeting. When you click on that link, it's going to take you to your Google Meet. You click join now, and then you are involved in the class. That's kind of a good overview. I'll take questions. I can go over anything.
So, Mr. Davis, there was a question about the file name. When do they need to change the file name when uploading their work? And I know we have a couple of teachers, camp teachers on here, but I don't believe they do, as long as the file name identifies the student and the assignment. That's sufficient, right? That
should be good. I actually think, if I recall, it renames, it'll put the student's name on that file.
Perfect. Okay.
So it sort of tags it. It also takes those files and saves them with the student. So in the student's like assignment. So it's pretty obvious who did it.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? If there are no questions for Mr. Davis, then I'm going to switch over my screen and I'm going to present. Let me do that now. My internet in Calvert County is a little slow. It should be coming up in just a second. And there we go. Okay. So just a few reminders so everyone can get ready. We have about a week before camp starts, a little bit more than a week. Okay. All right, so the daily schedule did change slightly, and that was due to the demand that we had for our camp, but the hours are still going to end before noon. So camp will begin as early as 8:30 and end at noon. Your child will have 1 hour of reading, 1 hour of math. The class will be for 1 full hour, and there will be breaks in between. So if your child, is lucky enough to have that first block, they may not have another class until third block starting at 11. But just to let you know, so they will have 2 full hours within the 8:30 to 12 o'clock range. So not necessarily back to back though. So what to expect? We met with camp teachers today and finalized all the plans and training, and they're looking at your students' data right now and making their plans in preparation of camp beginning on July 6th. The first communication that you will probably hear from your teacher will be on Friday, next Friday, that's July 3rd. It will be a quick introduction and directions to access the very first Google Meet and Google Classroom. They will also start posting their assignments each evening in Google Classroom. So after that initial email that you get on Friday, July 3rd, you will receive very few emails from that point on. Everything will be posted within Google Classroom using the link that they provided you. You should receive that email no later than 6 p.m. each evening with a video that explains what the lesson is going to be about the next day. And that's to support the camper being a little bit more independent. Our older students can do it on their own. They can probably read through the text, but some of the younger guys, just to build in that independence, a video will be included that will explain to your camper what the lesson is going to be about and any materials that they need to print out or prepare or have on hand during the lesson. And so if you just, get in the habit of checking the Google Classroom, around 6 o'clock each evening, that information will be there for you. Let's see, the teacher will review all the lesson objectives and things. And then every week they will also send out a summary of what has been taught and addressed, highlighting, highlights of the lessons. And then they'll also prepare you for what's coming up. That will also be a nice leadway into your 15-minute weekly consultation so that you know the questions to ask. So that hopefully that will help you. A lot of the camp teachers also talked about the best way to manage signing up for those 15-minute weekly consultations. And I believe some are going to be using Sign Up Genius, but they will include that in their email introduction to you, how they would like for you to sign up for that 15-minute time period each week. Any questions about that? Okay. Remote learning engagement is going to be pretty important. So we ask that you please, have your student ready to log on at a designated time. Certainly we understand, it's summer and it may be difficult to get some students up and online at 8:30 in the morning. But when they, arrive late, it could be distracting to the teacher if the teacher has already gone over, important instruction. So if you can, please have them on time. We have asked teachers to be, involved with your students for a full hour. Of course, that really depends on the age of your child. If your child is really small and not able to attend for a full hour, the classroom teacher is going to break down the lesson so that there should be multiple mini lessons with brain breaks built in. Of course, the older the child is and the more independent, the longer the lesson will be. So the teachers will also review, the behavioral expectations for the first day, including, muting and unmuting and, the importance of not spinning in their chair and using the camera or distracting others during that time period. It's also a good reminder too that even if a student is wearing a headset, that really focuses the sound for them, but it does not mean that the rest of the class and the teacher can't hear the background noise in your home. So we kind of say that, it's like your home becomes the hallway. If you're, in the kitchen or running the dishwasher or, vacuuming or having another meeting, all of that information is heard by the class, and whoever is sitting in the living room of the other campers can also hear what's going on. So just be aware of parents. I know for myself, I used to think that when I wore that headset and plugged in, I was the only one that could hear, and that's really not the case. So just beware. Safety of teacher and camper. We just ask that if it's possible, that students should never be left alone in a room with a closed door. It's just not a good idea, or doesn't, leave anyone feeling, completely safe in that situation. So if you could have students sitting, in the open, or at least leave the door open and have them sitting at a table or in a chair, and not lying in, laying in their bed. I've seen kids, little guys, laying in bed and rolling around. They haven't had their shirt, a shirt on. Of course, we're talking about little boys, and laying in their pajamas, and it just doesn't set them up for learning for the day. Some of the virtual camp rules, just again, having them prepared and on time, turning on the camera, only turning the microphone on if they're responding to a question, and just avoiding distractions, and use the chat only to share relevant comments and questions. It can be a lot of fun, especially for the little guys to, just write a whole bunch of things in there, but we'll work with your student on that. And just remembering to use kind words and actions. And Dr. Eggett, did you have anything that you wanted to add about behavioral expectations?
I was just putting something in the chat box, but it might be a good idea maybe to print out the camp rules and have them by the computer for your child to have as a reminder of what the expectations are. It's a nice little visual that they can refer to if if they need to, or the teacher can say, are you looking at your camp rules? I need you to turn off your microphone. So a lot of times that visual is just a really great reminder, especially for our elementary school kids.
All right, resources for teachers and for you all. One thing that we do need, we're trying to compile all that information before the end of the day tomorrow. So teachers will have the next week to prepare their lessons and to get their Google Classrooms all set up. We definitely need to have those non-Summit school campers. We need to have a private Gmail account set up. I think Nancy Rhodes had sent out a form so that you can just drop down and add the email address that your child will be using, and we will get that out to the teachers, and that will allow them to, like I said, get things set up and be well prepared for the first day of camp, so things go smoothly. A couple of things that we will send to you that I think will be pretty important for you to have. One will be you'll receive a copy of it. It's a Google Classroom cheat sheet for students, but it can be used for parents too if you're assisting your child. So we'll send that out to you. I also have a copy of your campers' schedules, and on the schedule, it will have the name of your teacher and your teacher's cell phone number. And then when the teacher emails you, on that first day, of course, you'll have your teacher's email address. So you'll have all that important information in one place. And then we'll also send you the virtual camp rules. And at the end of camp, you'll also receive a one-page report for reading and math. On the very last day, the report will be sent to you by email. And it will just review the goals that were worked on during camp. And we'll also go over your campers' individual strengths and some recommendations for things to continue to work on. Any questions about that? Okay. All right, the last slide I have is just contact information for you, and I will be sure to include this in an email as well. But Dr. Eggett and myself, we are the camp administrators, and we will be visiting all the virtual classrooms on a daily basis, and just kind of keeping things going and answering any questions that may come up and working with you all. And then, of course, Mr. Davis will be our camp technology coordinator. So if you need any assistance with any technology, just let us know, and we are here to help you. So any questions or comments, Nancy?
I just wanted to touch on something that Ms. Schmidt wrote in the chat box. I think there was a question from a parent about asking if there would be information about what was due the next day. So at Camp Summit, everything is going to be done while they're with the teacher. So they're not going to be required to do anything outside of camp on their own. So there shouldn't be homework and things like that that they need to worry about.
Right.
There was another question earlier up in the chat box regarding if they're signing their child up Gmail, sometimes if they have a minor account, because their child is a minor, that are there any restrictions? Are they going to have issues with stuff with that? I know a parent typed that up the chat box a while ago.
So I think any child under 13 has to the parent has to be involved with creating that Google account. So, definitely, I'm not sure how that works, if there's certain permissions they have to do while they're signing up. Chris, can you speak to that?
I know that the parent has to be involved if they're under 13, but I don't think it restricts the features of, it's basically the parent needs to agree that the child is using it.
Right, and I know one of the big things that we found at camp or at the regular schools at Summit School when we went remote was parents were really, and teachers were inundated with emails. The amount of emails that were generated just, on a daily basis was crazy and very challenging to keep up with. And for that reason, we're asking teachers not to email you more than once a week. You're going to receive that initial email that will explain, the Google Meet code and how to get set up and everything. But then after that, everything will be posted in Google Classroom. There will not be, ongoing email communication because you will be getting email communications every time they post something in Google Classroom. But there is a way to turn those notifications off. So just know that, if your email is increasing by, hundreds a day, you can turn those notifications off and just look in Google Classroom so that you can see the assignments. They will all be posted there. And that may help you manage things a little bit. So any helpful hints from any of our teachers, Ms. Schmitz or Ms. Mayer? Just if you have any helpful tips, things that you had learned on how to manage things from a teacher and parent.
I'm trying to turn myself back on. Sorry.
There you go.
I'm not used to being in a meet with this many people. The thing, Google Classroom is great. If you my suggestion and how I work my classroom is I use in Google Classroom, you have the stream, which just lists everything that's posted. And then you have what's called the classwork tab. If you click the classwork tab, most teachers will organize things. So I would put my topic would be agenda, and then all the agendas would be under that topic. So kids may feel overwhelmed if they look at the stream and see all those, list of things and how do I know where to go? But if they go to classwork, the agenda should be the first thing at the top of that page where they can click right into what they need to do. So, I make sure the first day of class, I'll show them this is where you're going to find everything and all those things. But that's a helpful hint for you because that stream can have, ongoing, and they, even my students this year, they're like, I can't find it. I'm like, where does Ms. Schmitz post everything? And they're like, oh yeah, I need to go to classwork. So make sure you can, when you're looking, click on that classwork tab, and it's just much better organized that way than trying to find something on the stream, which is what the first page you get to when you go into Google Classroom.
Okay. And one of the parents had reminded us also that there is the to-do list that helps keep track of what's been completed or not completed.
Yeah, we use that. We got the kids really into making sure they check their to-do list when we went remote this year. That was their number one. They could see if, I forgot this assignment or whatever. So.
Okay. So another thing that we found helpful, and I think this information has already gone out to parents, but just as a reminder, we did share with our teachers, and we came up with a set supply list for our language arts class and our math class of just things that you should have on hand on a regular basis. If there's anything in addition to the resources that are already listed, then teachers will give you ample notice, and it won't be anything that you have to go out and purchase or anything that's going to be too crazy. It should all be things that you have readily, in your home available to you. Anything else? Any burning questions?
Yes, this is Kelly Kropinski. I was just wondering, what will the parent feedback look like? I remember seeing something about 15 minutes. You said that's weekly?
Yeah, so it's a weekly consultation that the teacher will offer to parents. It's not something you have to do, but we encourage you, just because of remote learning, we just want that face-to-face interaction, that giving you an opportunity to ask questions of, things the teachers may have observed about your child, or things they're working on, or if you have any particular concerns, or anything that comes up. It just gives you that weekly face-to-face time that's private and individualized, so that you can talk about your camper with the teacher.
And how would you access that? From Google Classroom?
So the different teachers are coming up with different ways of how they want to manage it, so that they have some set office times and they can kind of control that a little bit for times that work well for their family as well. They're going to, I think most of them are going to use Sign Up Genius. So we'll have the time slots that are available, that they are available, and it could be one day a week that they do all of their meetings, or it could just be several times during the week, for 1 hour of time, but they will set their own schedule and give you a choice of when to sign up. And then that will just be your ongoing, time every week for the next, month.
And the other question I have is the hours for when I initially read it, they showed the first class, so the first session started at 8:30.
Yes.
And then there was another session that started, I believe, 9:30 or something like that.
Right. So the first class is going to start at 8:30 and will run for a full hour. So 8:30 to 9:30 is the first block. That doesn't mean your child will have first block, but they could have first block because they're only going to have two classes, and there's 3 periods during the day. So the first block is 8:30 to 9:30. Then there's a 15-minute break. And then the next class starts at 9:45 to 10:45. Then there's a 15-minute break. And then the last class starts at 11 and runs until noon.
And that list, I guess, how will I find out where the camper is assigned?
We're gonna email your child's schedules. Those were just finalized today, and we've typed up your child's schedule that has the block of time, what class they have, their teacher, and their teacher's cell phone number.
Okay.
You'll receive your teacher's email address when they email you. You'll get that information.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Another question. So will this require us, the parents, to, I know there won't be no homework per se, but will this require us each day to check their account to see if there's
Anything outstanding?
Yeah.
Well, so students aren't graded on their work. They may be encouraged to, read for 10 or 15 minutes. They will have their assignments that are all completed within that designated hour, but there really won't be any carryover of assignments. But you will have access to what they worked on. So if you, want to review it with them, or, just reading with them is always, a great thing to do. And also just incorporating math. Anytime you can incorporate math, authentically, organically, is also a good idea.
Okay, so and all of that is through the Google Classroom.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So one thing I should note too, I wasn't on one of the slides. We know that families go on vacation, and that's fine. We respect that. But if a camper does miss more than 4 days of camp, because camp is only 20 days long, if they miss more than 4 days, it makes it really challenging for a teacher to write a progress report that may capture, the true strengths and weaknesses of a student if they're not, if they're not consistently in class. So just know that if the teacher feels like they don't have enough information and your child has missed more than 4 days, we may not be able to offer that individualized progress report.
Pam, question for you. It's Angela Muse. Hi.
Hi.
Hi there. So if they're not being graded, but are they, I assume they're, turning in their work, and then the teacher is telling them what they got wrong and right?
Right. They are still receiving some feedback.
Okay. Okay, great. Because I feel like what has worked well is just the accountability, kind of knowing that, it's taken seriously, and that's worked well, in the spring with Summit. So that would be great. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Right. And each class may look a little different also, depending on, the students and what they're able to manage and handle. Again, you may have some of the younger students who, may not be receiving, live instruction, for the full hour engaged looking at a computer, but may be asked to, they may do an activity for 10 minutes and then let's take a brain break, and then do another activity for 10 minutes and then take a brain break. Or why don't you complete this activity independently, and I'm going to work with 2 other campers individually. So there could be a lot of different models. When I think about, the range of students that we have and the range of abilities from, little guys just, graduating kindergarten and coming in as a rising first grader, it's going to look very different for them than it does an 8th grader. So I just, want parents to be aware that it could look very different, but the teacher will be available for that entire hour. Okay, if there aren't any other questions, we will make sure that this recording is made available to anyone who wants to review it again, or make it available to someone that wasn't able to attend. And we will get some information out to you. And meanwhile, if you haven't already sent us your child's Gmail account, please get that information to us. That's a pretty critical piece for us to communicate in a timely manner and give our teachers time to get things set up. So if you could do that for me, that would be wonderful. And I will send out that email probably tomorrow with some of the handouts that we talked about.
And to forward you the email or the Gmail account information, I tried to do it online and I tried to do it at work here and it didn't go through. So what's the best way to forward it?
Well, you know what, we have a form that just made it easy because it drops into a spreadsheet for us. But if you're not able to access that Google form, just send us a quick email.
Okay.
Okay.
I did. The format did come up, but I didn't see where they hit send. Where to send.
Oh.
It didn't.
Okay.
It didn't show on my computer, and I had problems finding with that. So,
yikes. Okay.
I'll try to get at home.
Yeah, or just send me an email. My name is Pamela Walker, so it's pamela.walker@theschool.org. And you can just shoot me over a quick email.
All right, I'll try again tonight when I get home later tonight.
Okay, we appreciate that.
All right, Deb. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, everyone. If you don't have any other questions, have a great night. We look forward to seeing your campers. We usually have a great time over the summer. It's one of my best times, one of my favorite times about just engaging with the campers and seeing them having a great time. I will miss seeing them in person, but I will see you all virtually.